Two Nerds and a Joke with Robert and Ernie. Aww, you two are just so sweet together.
Thank you, disembodied hot girl voice. This is Two Nerds and a Joke with Robert and Ernie. I am Ernie.
And I am Robert.
Awesome. So we're back after a little hiatus.
This is a special one, right?
Oh, yeah, special hiatus.
Well, yeah, it's a special hiatus, but the back is also special. You know what episode it is, right?
Which episode number is this?
This is number 10.
Who would have ever thought we would make it to 10? Double digits, baby.
Double digits. We're making it into the big time or something like that.
Well, I mean,
sort of.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, we have 30 followers on our Facebook page, which is nice. And we have a bunch of followers, almost 30-something on Instagram. So we're getting there. And we have already 10 or 11 views on just the last podcast, number 9. So that was pretty sweet. So we're getting there. We're definitely getting there.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, the two nerd nation is growing.
Yay, we have a nation. Well, almost. Small community. Almost a village. Maybe a town. Very small town.
Maybe a complex.
Ooh, a complex. We could be we are complex. Huh. So there's a lot of no, isn't it? There's a lot of stuff going on, and we do have some really good topics to kind of cover what's going on currently, but also what has happened and what part of that hiatus was. Some of you were following and to do a little bit of a breakdown of how the con went first off. And then
to those who didn't, it was the SuperCon in Miami.
Right, exactly. JLS was there, Comics Jesse, and I hung out with him for a little bit. He had a better time than I did by a long shot. Met a lot of cool artists and stuff. And then we're going to get into something we've hinted at in the past, actually. We never really discussed, which I think you have a particular fondness for, which is, of course, the topic of arch nemesis.
Yes.
So we're going to do a full conversation on personal arch nemesis, and I did actually post over this weekend a little thing to Facebook, and I had a couple of responses back of there are people out there who have arch nemesis, so this is not something that isn't not experienced by general populace in real world. So there are people who have arch nemesis, including ourselves. So we'll talk about that. And the third one is something you're particularly excited about, I think, and I'm going to definitely enjoy the concept and enjoy it, but you're going to go fanboy over it, which of course is the Killing Joke.
Killing Joke, yeah.
Yes, so you're very excited about that, I know, and we're going to go be at the showing, the one-day premiere on the 25th, in a local theater, if you will. So message us if you're going to go on any of our media sites, and we'll keep open for that. So first and foremost, obviously, let's start off with the con. Obviously, again, as I mentioned, a bunch of people were there. It was a pretty weird con, though, I will have to say. There was a lot of cool people there, but it just wasn't busy. It just wasn't.
Well, to give everyone a frame of reference, this was during the July 4th weekend down here in Miami, which is always kind of hard to compete with considering where we live. It's beautiful weather. It was a bit on the hot side. Low 90s, upper 80s. So it was like perfect beach weather, in other words. There wasn't a lot of bad weather sending people indoors, so to speak.
Right. Yeah, and that's the thing. And if you hadn't done it before, then you kind of would say, "Oh, this is great." This is a lot of famous guests. I mean, everybody from the can we call her the hooker with a heart? That would be appropriate, right? Mariana Bacardi, Bicarna? I don't remember how you pronounce her last name, but the girl from Deadpool was there, and from my favorite show, Firefly, was there. So, I think that's an appropriate language. The consort with a conscience. Didn't get to see her, but I saw she was there. People were very excited about it. I saw Captain Kirk. He was very busy.
He does have a name.
It was funny, too, because out in front of his booth, he had all these books and all this other material for people to purchase for him to sign.
Well, yeah, that's how they make their money, right? That's how they make their spending money.
Yeah, but it was funny because most people just have a little, something at their table where they're sitting. He had, a whole booth of stuff in front of the area where he was sitting for people to buy before they even went up to see him. So that was a little bit excessive.
Yeah, I mean, those types I figure, like William Shatner, he's all about selling the William Shatner brand.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, you figure he's been, in show business since the late 50s, early 60s?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, easily. Yeah. He looks good for his age, though. I will give him that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't think he ever was, like, in the news, addicted to the sauce or anything like that,
No, he kept himself pretty clean, I believe.
Yeah.
I mean, he kept himself pretty clean. Worf was there as well. I actually got to talk to the guy who played Worf. He was extremely nice.
Michael Dorn?
Michael Dorn, yes. Very skinny. He lost a ton of weight. He didn't look like himself. Obviously, without the makeup, he never looks like himself, if you will. But we actually talked to him because I don't know if you remember, but that there was rumors of him trying to get his own a new TV show for Star Trek, kind of an offshoot of Deep Space Nine. A couple 6 months ago or so, and he was trying to get people intrigued and get some backing for it, but it never took off, sadly. So I asked him about it, and he said because they're doing the new Star Trek shows that are going to come out on TV, they kind of veered away from his ideas, which is kind of sad because I would have liked to see him as a captain again. I thought that would have been cool.
Although that might be a Netflix show, I'm thinking, like something available on Netflix or Amazon or something like that. But yeah. I could kind of see how the studio execs are like, okay, we can't go backwards anymore because we just rebooted the franchise. So
let's do something a little different. Now I don't know that the new show is going to take place in the original Star Trek universe, like in the old Star Trek universe, like original generation, or if they're talking new generation, new universe, new ships. I believe that's more the direction they're going, though, right?
Yeah.
From what I've seen, anyways. So that is what it is, and I think it'll be cool, and I think they'll get a following, like most Star stuff, but I don't know. I'm not sure I'm all gung-ho about it. I'll be looking at, but it's not available everywhere, right? I mean, it's going to be available only pay-per-view, some sort of channel or something weird?
Well, I think this is going to be the growing trend, where you have these intellectual properties that have done well and they're money makers. These networks are going to rehash them. They're going to show a pilot episode on the free airwaves or cable, whatever, and then you have to purchase the the channel. They have their digital channel.
Right.
CBS does.
Right.
That you have to sign up for, and then you'll be able to get it's essentially kind of like Netflix in a way where all of their content's going to be there on demand, in essence, that you can just stream and watch whenever. But then the original stuff, like this new Star Trek series, will solely be on their digital platform.
Right, which is a pain in the butt for the rest of us who aren't really that big of a Star Trek fan to say, oh, I'm going to buy that just for it. And then it's disappointing, then you end up having to get out of it, pain in the butt. So yeah, it's a pain, too much of a pain.
Well, I'm hoping that that other networks don't follow suit, but it doesn't make sense for them not to.
Yeah,
because it's shown. I mean, Netflix proved that people are willing to pay the extra subscription price to stream these things, and nobody who watches shows that they air anymore, anyways.
Live, very few. I mean, it's always nobody has the time to do that, really. I mean, not really, not as much. So it'll be interesting to see what ends up happening with it. I mean, again, if it's a price like Netflix, if it's priced at $8 a month, then nobody's going to bulk too heavy at it. It's it's $8 a month. That's not a big deal, but they're going to make their money hand over fist.
Yeah.
And of course, one of your favorites was there. I actually got to meet and talk to him for a hot minute. Jeremy Bulloch.
Ah, yes.
He's obviously the body double for Boba Fett.
Yeah.
He's actually in a couple other things too. He actually was Captain Colton in The Revenge of the Sith. I don't know if you knew that.
Really?
Yeah.
No, I did not.
Yeah, he was actually Captain Colton. And the cool thing is, he was very personable. It's funny because I was trying to do a little cosplay this time. Anyone who saw the videos of me at con may have noticed I had some punky rock type pieces on, nothing too fancy, but I put a fake tattoo on my head just for poops and giggles, and a lot of people thought it was real, which was funny in of itself. But Jeremy Bulloch actually commented. He was like, "That looked like a gunshot wound at first. That's tattoo. Dang, man. And I was like, it was pretty funny. So it was one of those little con moments you get, which was pretty cool. There's a lot of voice actors, but there always are. I mean, at these things, a lot of animated and anime actors. Biggest one that you would know is the voice of Bart Simpson was there.
Nancy Cartwright.
Yep, Nancy Cartwright. So she
No. Bart Simpson, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Nancy Cartwright.
Yeah, you're right. You were right. Don't second guess yourself.
I got her confused with Yardley Smith, which is the voice of Lisa.
Yes, right, yeah. But she did a lot of characters. She did Rugrats too, and she did the little girl from what was it? Not Pink. I want to call it Animaniacs. The Animaniacs show from back in the day. So she did a couple of voices.
Oh yeah.
So she was fun. I didn't get to see her sadly. The other one I actually got to meet and talk with was Amelia. And you'll know Emilio, if you will, Delgado, from Sesame Street.
Nice.
Yeah, I got to talk to him a little bit. He's on a side booth. He was talking to a few people, had a couple of books and stuff. And he was interesting to talk to because we talked about the retro, the good old days. Because he aged. I mean, he's like, when you look at him like, holy mackerel, dude. Holy mackerel. How long ago was this show?
Yeah, how many are left from that cast is the other question.
Not many. I think Maria's still on the show, but I don't know. I haven't seen it. And then he kind of made this little shrug face when I said, it's so weird that HBO's getting Sesame Street of all things.
Well, yeah, that's probably a sore subject for him. Right?
I'm sure it is. So we talked for a hot minute, but he was pretty busy, which is kind of fun, because it's nice to see those guys get a little popular, a little busy, since they're kind of weird offshoot characters. And then I talked to Caitlin Glass, who you may not know, but she's an anime voiceover actress. She did voices for Full Metal Alchemist, and she did one of my son's favorite, which is Attack on Titans. And she was actually the problem with her, she had the longest line of everybody in con. And not because it was long, but because she literally spent 10, 15 minutes with each person talking to them. So she
Given
was
that
very
one-on-one.
Oh, yeah. Everybody got the one-on-one. It was really cool, but I was like, she ended up being the longest line because of that. So that was a lot of fun. But overall, I mean, we ran our booth, and we got a few people, to help us out and to do stuff with us. And it was cool that there were a lot of cosplayers and a lot of pics that I took. If you guys look on our YouTube page, there's some video on there and some other things. Those are all the people I met. Now, I know that there were a lot of people that Jesse got to meet that I didn't. One of the really strange things that I saw, and this was kind of weird. So you figure it's a Star Trek, it's a reunion, it's been going for so long. Only person who was busy was Shatner, and I saw Shatner. Walter Koenig, I think is how you say it.
Yeah, Koenig. Okay.
Yeah, Koenig. First off, holy mackerel! You don't realize how old a show is until you see the actors. And I mean, he looks good for his age, but he's like, again, it's like, wow, how old am I? But
and he was the youngest of the crew.
And he was the youngest. Yeah, you're right. But he had literally nobody. I was like, it's Chekhov. It's Chekhov. And I was on the line for Caitlin Glass, which was right next to him. And she was like, long line. Everybody's waiting and doing their thing. Nothing for poor Chekhov. I was like, what the heck is going on with this world? When did that happen?
It's a shame because, when I think of Chekhov, I know people think of the show. I always think of the show, right? Mm-hmm. I think of Chekhov, and I remember Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan.
Of course, right, yeah.
Yeah, so to me, I think by far that was his best role in the Star Trek verse.
Mm-hmm.
To me that's the best movie of the bunch. I know people put 4 up there, but that's the most non-Star Trek of all the Star Trek movies.
It has a whale in it, right?
Oh yeah, with the space poop.
It has the best line though from Chekhov. We need to get your nuclear weapon.
We're looking for your nuclear vessels.
Vessels, yes.
Nuclear vessels.
That's awesome.
Cop just staring at him. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great. I'm sorry, that's a great line. I don't care.
Well,
Maybe
you're
right though.
San Francisco.
Yeah. Well, and I agree 100%. It was the least Star Trek of all the Star Treks, but it was fun as hell. I enjoyed it because it was just fun. You know.
Yeah.
But the whole thing, isn't it, that it's the odd number ones that were
the first
not as
one
good?
the first one was. I remember when the first one came out, and I remember the excitement, like, of seeing them, like, in the big screen, and I just remember watching it in the movies and just it being so long. Now, keep in mind, you fast forward to present day, I've heard every commentary, everything about it, and the funniest line I ever heard, I don't know who did it, but they said Star Trek 1, that very first one, the motion picture, should have just been called Star Trek Look at the Ship. Look at the ship, look at the ship. Like, there's literally 40 minutes of just us looking at the Enterprise.
Right, that's funny.
Look at the ship. So I went back and watched it because I'm a glutton for punishment, and sure enough, man, like, there's 40 minutes of just, like, really, like, tight, wide shots, tight shots. You can see the little panels, you can see, like, the little lights coming out of the model of the Enterprise and everything, and you're like, that's really cool.
Yeah, it was a cool ship. I mean, they did well for the time frame, and they got a lot of close-ups with that model. I mean, and that's something that you had mentioned to me the other day was what rich boys do. The rich boys.
Oh yes, what fanboys buy.
Yeah, with deep pockets. Fanboys. Yeah, and I bet you that would be something with the real little working lines. I know it has to exist.
Well, segue to a man who always gets as much press as anyone can handle, Bill Gates. He purchased the Enterprise D from the Next Generation.
Right. I remember that. Right.
Yes. And that thing's like 8 feet around or something ridiculous like that. It's a full scale, but he paid like $2.25 million or something like that for it.
Did you see and you saw the movie about Bill Gates, right?
No.
Oh, you didn't? Oh, it's good. It actually was a decent little story. I saw it. I think I saw it on like the History Channel or something random. But it's another segue, because it's a perfect segue. He had an arch nemesis, the guy who created IBM.
Oh, you mean the guys who ran IBM?
Yeah. Like,
the
two of them going at it against each other. That was pretty crazy. I mean, it's like IBM is like, we got something new, and Bill's like, well, I got something better, and back and forth and back and forth. I mean, we know who won that battle, but still, that was it's pretty crazy. So, I guess that's the segue, right? Does that count? Segues are weird.
Sure. yeah. It's trademark, so hopefully we don't get sued. Please don't sue us. We have nothing.
We have nothing. So, segues. No, the biggest thing, though, to wrap up the whole con thing is, it was a good con. It wasn't a great con. There was a lot of things going on, a lot of construction and stuff, so it wasn't as busy as it could have been. But there are a lot of really good cosplays. There's pictures. JLS Comics has a great video of a lot of the cosplays at our booth, actually. He wrote up a piece in one of the I don't remember the name of it, but he does articles for certain online magazines. And he actually mentioned Owl's Treasures in the article, so that was really nice. Yeah, it was really nice of him to do that. So it was a good con, not a great con, but I'd love to get to maybe next year. We can hope to both be at con and make our names out there in a big way for the breaking out or the coming out of Two Nerds and a Joke live to the general populace. That would be really cool.
Yes, it would.
So, all right, so. Arch nemesis. Arch nemesis, is that the plural? That should be the plural. May not be the plural. I don't know.
Maybe we should have looked that up.
Yeah, maybe, but doesn't matter. All right, so arch nemesis in real life, and again, I posted this to Facebook, got a couple of responses, and people sometimes come across these people in their lives that they may not want in their lives, but are there. And for one reason or another, they become their arch nemesis for whatever reason. Whether they're the guy who's your friend who took your girl, or whether it's they just made your life miserable and wouldn't literally go away, or whatever it might be.
Well, and let's be clear. Like the term arch nemesis, as a kid, you always get a clear delineation. All right, the good guy wears white, the bad guy wears black. All right, he's wearing black, he must be the black guy. Mm-hmm. Or like, oh my gosh,
The cowboy hats.
You know, he wants to do something. Like, he's always got this plan. He's always got this plot. The reason why he's evil is because he wants this. You know, he wants money or whatever. And then there's some arch nemesis which I think are more true to life. And you and I discussed this when we were talking about The Flash,
Mm-hmm.
the TV show, where in the first season, Flash finally discovers it's Reverse Flash that's behind all of this.
Mm-hmm.
And, he basically asks him, well, why are we enemies? He goes, it doesn't matter.
Right. Right.
You know what I mean? That struck a chord with me. It's like, when you think about it, you're like, wow, why was this guy such a jerk to me? Or why was this guy just such a dick?
Right.
And you try to find out the reason to justify it, but then you just realize it doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't. And that is a very good valid point. Their arch nemesis, in its true definition, going by what you say and what I believe is true as well, is different than an enemy. In that an enemy is someone who's doing bad things in the world and you're trying to stop them. An arch nemesis may not be doing evil in the world as their purpose, but it happens just because. But their real focus is to destroy you. And there's different, and you can look at it different ways. Like, for example, you take like Lex Luthor and Superman. Lex Luthor kind of started out as just a general bad guy.
Well,
that turned into an arch nemesis. I mean, it depends on which universe. I mean,
because I read a Superboy comic when I was a kid, and Lex Luthor was a super smart, brainy kid in Smallville, and Clark Kent was in Smallville also. And kind of Clark Kent was like he was the cutesy boy, the aw shucks type of kid.
Mm-hmm.
And Lex Luthor was this brainy kid that nobody liked. And then one day he's doing an experiment and Superboy does something and he ends up losing his hair.
Mm.
And then he vows vengeance against Superboy / Superman.
Right. Well, and I mean, a lot of the stories that have the two of them in it are kind of that genre of they just don't like each other. Even the new movie, as much as you don't like Lex Luthor in the new movie, I have a soft spot for him. He doesn't have a why. He just doesn't like Superman. He doesn't like him. Period.
Yes.
There is no why.
Yes. It doesn't matter because you don't want to. What is it? Someone told me, I believe it was a common coworker. I don't want to say his name, but he does like our payroll.
Oh, yes.
And yes. Don't want to say his name without his permission.
Yes, but he's a cool guy.
But, yes, cool guy. Great wealth of knowledge when it comes to fictional characters that we discuss.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that he mentioned was, you know what? One of the things that he kind of steers away from are stories where they make you feel bad for the bad guy.
Mm-hmm. But I kind of like that. I mean, okay, if you look at Magneto, for example, and Xavier, because that's really where the arch nemesis place comes in. I mean, they'll say Magneto's the arch enemy of all the X-Men. But look at the movies.
Are they really arch enemies, though? Like, is Professor X and Magneto really, at odds? Aren't they just the same person? They just trying to get to different means?
And that's kind of where they fall against each other. And if you remember in the original movies, like the first or second one, it's like they kind of hint at it on other places. It's like I'm always going to try and make mutants their own world and destroy humanity. And Professor Xavier turns to him and says, "And I'll always be there to stop you." I don't know. Is that more frenemies then?
I guess.
I mean, that's a fine line.
Nemesis.
Yeah. Okay.
Because to me, the arch nemesis would be like Reverse Flash and Flash.
Okay.
It's kind of like, why are we enemies? It doesn't matter. We just are. That to me is an arch nemesis because
pure.
You can't reason with them.
Right.
Even if you try to help him, even if you save his life, the next chance he gets, he's going to try to put a knife in your back.
Right. Would you consider like Green Goblin and Spider-Man then arch nemesis because of that, or is that friend turned enemy? Well,
it depends on which story you look, because once again, you run into the whole Peter Parker creating the Green Goblin or the Green Goblin creating Peter Parker. It's one of those things.
Because they had the company was the people that had the Outfront company was the ones who created Spider-Man because they had the spiders they're experimenting with, and then the Green Goblin came about because Spider-Man, blah, 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 which most of them kind of revolve around in some form or fashion. But again, are they a true arch nemesis of each other? Do they fit the criteria? The criteria is, according to what we're talking here, is they hate each other just because.
I would say I would say Doc Ock is more his arch nemesis than Green Goblin.
Because he hates him because of who he's...
Yeah, he just hates him because he hates him.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair enough. I can see that. All right, so let's go a little more random.
Let's go a little bit more random. Go ahead.
All right, so let's go into the book genre because there's lots of things in books, and we have to shout out to our book people. Now here's a crossover one, and this is, I think, close to that pure arch nemesis, Captain Hook and Peter Pan.
Yes.
That's pure hatred. There is.
Yeah, because there's no reason for Captain Hook to stay in Neverland except his hatred toward Peter Pan.
And he states as much. In every... I mean, there's so many different movie book variants, it doesn't matter anymore. Did you see the new one?
No, I did not see the last one. Was Hugh Jackman? No.
I hadn't either. I was wondering if it was good.
And I did that out of pure principle, to be honest with you.
What do you mean? You don't like Hugh Jackman?
Well, no. I believe thoroughly that without Peter Pan, I don't think we would have this many stories coming out of Disney. Let's put it that way. Okay. I think a lot of this. I think Peter Pan kind of like the whole concept of that whole story kind of like morphed out into different branches. You have the fairies, you have Peter Pan himself, you have like the Lost Boys, you have all of that stuff. And to me, like the original story to me is still the best one. I know it may not be PC because the whole Indian thing. Everyone's pretty sensitive about that, but
which is fair.
Yeah, as a kid, I liked the story, and as an adult, I go back and look at it, and I like it as well. I still like it.
Still classic.
But yeah, the last live-action Peter Pan-esque movie that I liked was Hook with Robin Williams and Dustin Hoffman.
I was just about to ask that. Yeah, I agree, and I like the... You know which one I like, though? And I know a lot of people are up in the air about the Universal live-action Peter Pan. I
remember that one. Yes, I remember that one.
Dark version.
Yeah,
but
it was darker.
Good. Yeah, it was darker. And the cool thing is, of course, was that it was the father playing Hook and playing the father in that. So it kind of has this weird kind of surreal, is the father really a bad guy in real life? Is that kind of why he's the bad guy in the alternate reality, quote unquote? And Peter Pan representing youth, so is he the enemy of youth because he acts that way in the real world? It's kind of a weird, if you kind of look at it in that angle, it's kind of like a weird kind of, wow, that's kind of a cross, same story, but reality, unreality. I mean, the same thing they kind of do with the Alice movies, to the original ones, not the new ones. You know what I'm saying? Like kind of taking a real world, fantasizing the real world concept. I think that's kind of cool. It's like, which is real, kind of thing. So that's kind of exciting. Now,
oddly enough, one of the things that I don't think has an arch enemy or arch enemy like construct, it's Star Wars.
Well, I mean, you have the overarching enemies, but I don't think they're arch enemy. Oh, okay, but you could say like, I mean, I know you don't talk the original trilogy, but Darth Maul is the arch nemesis for half a second of our dear friend Obi-Wan, but only for like half a heartbeat because he kills his men. They have there right then and there, and then he kills him, and it's kind of over. Short-lived arch nemesis.
Well, that's a whole Sith Jedi thing.
Well, that's what I'm saying, right? The overarching.
Yeah, that's Sith and Jedi. You can't Sith and Jedi can never team up.
Right. They're enemies, and they are on the opposite side, and those are bad guy versus good guy. It's more of a classic bad guy versus good guy, going back to the black hats of like old cowboys days.
Yeah.
So I mean,
how do you know who the bad guy is? Look for the guy in the black hat.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Oh, here's a funny one. Inspector Gadget.
Dr. Claw, which we never found out who he was.
Yes. Does that count as just a bad guy, or does that actually count as an arch nemesis?
Well, remember, Dr. Claw wasn't necessarily going after Gadget. It was like Correct. Dr. Claw was trying to do something he tried to do something crazy to topple the world or the government and stuff like that.
Right.
And Inspector Gadget and it wasn't even him, it was Penny.
True. Penny was the real hero of that show. I mean, let's not fool ourselves. Yeah. Oh, and you mentioned this. And you mentioned this earlier, actually. Khan.
Oh yes. So you have in Star Trek, once again, you try to fit that whole who's arch enemy of what, or who, and then you have the question: is Captain Kirk's arch nemesis Khan.
Mm-hmm.
I say no.
Right, because there is someone worse than Khan for Kirk. As much as Kirk is foiled by Khan, he's like, "Gone!" Got it, classic, obviously. But you say what?
I say the guy who killed his son.
Right. What do you even remember who that person is? I know it was a Klingon. I knew that much.
Yeah, he was a rogue captain of the Klingon Federation, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
But he took something from him, and that's really the big thing.
Yeah, he cut him deep. He basically, and even then, that's still a flimsy story. Like that was the search for Spock, which was 3.
Which I thought was good, or at least decent.
Yeah, it was decent. I mean, of the odd number ones, that's probably the better of them. Because we don't talk about 5. And
why not?
Oh God, that was just awful. Like, they're on ATVs. Like, how can you be? And then the new Star Trek, they're on dirt bikes. So there it goes.
I'm gonna save judgment until I see it.
So be it. So, but to me, it'd be Wrath of Khan.
Right.
Then it would be The Undiscovered Country, which I think was an excellent story. Written by the same guy.
Right.
Written by the same guy.
Which again,
who got shafted the first go round because apparently what he said was the original title of the second movie was going to be The Undiscovered Country because the Wrath of Khan really wasn't the Wrath of Khan. It was more or less about them dealing with death. Like in all the Star Trek episodes and all the Star Trek movies up to that point, anyways, the main characters of Star Trek never had to face death.
Right. Which again is typical of most TV shows until more recently, where they started changing that formula like Game of Thrones, like
Walking
Dead, where the formulas changed. They're like, you know what? Screw it. We're gonna make you love them, and then we're gonna kill them. See how you like that, you stupid viewers, and you'll still come back for more. You masochists.
Unless you're Daryl, who is like the modern day Boba Fett. He has no dialogue. He has the least amount of screen time, but he's the number one selling property of that franchise.
Yeah.
Like anything Daryl imaged or Daryl related outsells the others at least 7-1.
Yeah, easily. Now if they kill him off, I mean the whole world might stop.
Oh, dude! Have you seen they even spawned like a show just for him? But it's the actor. Have you seen it?
No. What is it called? I haven't heard of it.
It's Riding with Norman Reedus, and it's essentially him like during his downtime riding his motorcycle around the country, just meeting average people doing average things. Of course, unfortunately for him, he's so recognizable
that there is no such thing.
There's no such thing. So, it's funny. I hate to, plug another show, but it is an interesting watch. The last episode,
that's funny.
He had a friend of his who was a guitarist in a couple bands. Like, he's won a couple Grammys, that type of stuff. He's really rich, really well off, and he's a respected musician, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, they're friends, and they decide they're going to hop on 2 motorcycles, and they're just going to go cruise down to New Orleans. So they're leaving Atlanta to drive to New Orleans, where the actor who plays Daryl, Norman Reedus, he spends a majority of his time in his life.
Right.
So he gets away from there, and he goes down there. Now, mind you, of course, they can't even walk around New Orleans without getting stopped.
Right.
Because people are like, oh, it's Daryl, so.
It's not quite him interacting with normal people in the regular sense of it. But it's kind of cool that he's a bike rider in real life, and he kind of has that, a chunk of that character is really him. And I think that's really what makes a character likable, is not so much who, what they are in the actual movie, TV show, or whatever, but really more, do they play it with heart? Are they believable? Yeah. Could you really see that person existing in the real world down to earth? And not that, and again, the main character, what's his name? I can't think of it, with the cowboy hat, the sheriff.
Rick,
if you will. You can see that person sort of existing in the real world. They're kind of too altruistic for you to I mean, I know he's gotten darker in later episodes. I've seen it. I haven't seen all of them, but yeah, okay, fine, yeah, but I can't relate to that as well. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
everybody loves a bad boy. Everybody loves a bad boy.
plus then you had him killing his best friend, who ultimately wanted him dead because he realized this guy's going to end up killing him for his wife because like this guy was so envious of him at one point that he actually tried to kill him, his best friend, and that whole arch nemesis thing. So I think that maybe
does that count then?
Yeah, I think that counts because there was no reason why. You know what I mean? Other than the fact of like there he is. He's like in a hospital bed. He wakes up and his first instinct is to find his family.
Yeah.
He finds his family, and sure enough, it's his best friend who's been like protecting him. But the reason why is because his best friend's always been so envious of him.
Yeah.
So like he saw an opportunity and he took it essentially, and he thought like his world was perfect, even though I don't know how you could call it a perfect world when the dead are walking among you.
Oh, bum. Thank you. Nice.
Yeah.
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 So, that's a good point though. But I mean that's kind of it. And I think the definition is there. I mean, like just to hate someone for the sake of not either jealousy, as you mentioned, just because of who they are. Now, if you do bad things as well to the rest of the world, then you're kind of an arch nemesis plus bad guy. But just a pure...
You become a villain.
Then you become a villain, right. But if you're just an arch nemesis, you don't necessarily need to be a bad person. And there's not too many stories, and we've mentioned a few of them here, that are really just true arch nemesis, which they just don't like each other, but neither of them are bad people. Like, I almost feel that like Captain Hook could fall quasi into that category. All his plots and ploys are to get Peter Pan. He's not hurting people just to hurt them, as much.
Well,
but a pure...
Considering the definition of a pirate, they weren't really the nicest stuff.
Well, no.
Warmest of people.
No, they weren't like, kings among men, but, as far as it goes. But that's interesting because it's an interesting variant. We'll have to look and see if the stuff that's coming up, because there's a lot of stuff coming up, if that arch nemesis stuff comes out, if we can find some modern day arch nemesis that are neither ones are bad people. They don't do bad things outside of trying to get to each other.
Right.
That's a pure arch nemesis, which would be fascinating to see as a show. I think that'd be a great story. To really see, and you see some of that in small films and stuff, but not really big names, and that'd be interesting to see. And if our callers and listeners, we'd like to have callers, but our listeners and watchers on YouTube and etc. can leave some comments on their thoughts on this topic, that would be really sweet. To see if they come up with other things that we haven't mentioned here, because I know at least from one of our listeners is like, you didn't say this, you should have. I was yelling. I was like, okay. All right, well, that's what comments are for. That's what our comments are for. But I think we covered it fully. Anything else you wanted to add to this arch nemesis before we move on to the last topic?
No. As far as arch nemesis, unfortunately, even the nicest of people, they have arch nemesis for whatever the reason is. Don't know why it is, but it's just I think it's just a thing of life. And one thing I've learned is that there's a point where you can dwell on the fact that you have an arch nemesis.
Right.
And it'll totally consume you. And then you become no better than that person, which is what I say, what happened in BVS.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point.
Right.
Yeah, that's a very strong point there, too. Because if all you do is become obsessed with them, then are you any better than they are?
Yeah.
That's strong. That's good stuff.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. I appreciate that.
Well, every now and then I can get a little deep. I'm not all, just
fluff and nerd.
The nerd, the comic relief, the introspective.
Yeah, that's good. I like that, and that's a key thing. And I would love to see. I know it doesn't need to be brand name, but I'd love to see if someone knows out there of a story where it's just who's the good guy. Who's the good guy here? And I think you'd have to almost go away from characters we know, because both of them are so obsessed with just destroying the other one. I almost want to say for a hot minute, like Captain Jack Sparrow and Captain Barbossa. In the first one, when they're both zombie creatures, it's like they just hate each other, and they're not at that moment hurting anyone else, but the eternal battle, no one wins, kind of thing, That would be a great story, I think, to play out somewhere. But speaking of great stories, you like that? You like that? Come on.
I like that.
You like that?
That's good. That was better than the last one.
Thank you. I do try. We have something very exciting coming up, and I know you're fanboying. I think it's going to be enjoyable. But that is on the 25th of this month, the Batman The Killing Joke is coming out for a one-time release in theaters. It's a Fathom event. And obviously then it's going to come out on Blu-ray and DVD after.
Right.
Now, the original comic is from when?
1989? I want to say the original story came out.
Yeah, I think it was 88 or 89. Yep. Yeah, you're right. And for you, this is a big deal. Why is this a big deal for you? Because that's the important thing.
All right. For me, it was a big deal because the book came out, shortly after Dark Knight. Dark Knight came first,
Mm-hmm.
and then Batman '89 came out, and then that whole movie. Well, looking back on it now, 20 plus years later, it is a bit over the top. It's a little bit campy.
Just a touch.
At the time, though, remember we were coming off of Batman 66
Mm-hmm.
and Super Friends Batman, where Batman's with the Super Friends. He's got a smile on his face. He's fighting crimes during the day. Well, we all knew Batman was none of that stuff.
Right.
The real Batman, anyways. The Batman that I was reading in the comic books.
Right.
He came out at night. He was brooding. Mm-hmm. He was like obsessed about ridding his city of the evil that took away his parents. He alienated and the only family he really had was the butler.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it all boiled down to.
I loved every variant of Alfred in every movie that they've done. It's like, yes, there's a good Alfred. Oh, wait, he's a good Alfred. Wait, another good Alfred. So lots of good Alfreds. So I love that.
Yeah, so I watched Batman '89, Tim Burton's Batman, and there's Jack Nicholson playing the Joker.
Still the best.
It's pretty dark. There's people die.
A little weird at times.
Killing him. Yeah, and Batman ends up killing the Joker.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, well, if the Batman kills Joker, then there's no more Batman movies. There's no reason for Batman to exist. Because the way that movie said it was the Joker, well, the guy, the criminal who ended up becoming the Joker created Batman, and then Batman ended up creating the Joker, and then Batman ended up killing the Joker.
Which is...
So really, there's no more story left after that.
Mm-hmm. Which, again, is a great for a single movie, but it's not a concept to build a franchise after.
Right.
It's a one-shot, and you're done.
Yeah, and then at the end, they have the bat signal going up, and I was like, okay, that was pretty cool. First time I walked out of that theater, I was like, okay, pretty cool. I bought the T-shirts, like most of American kids did. They were all in black, and they all had like a single image, like either it was the bat insignia or it was like Batman standing on like the bodies of like these criminals that he had just beat the pulp out of. But then like this book came out that I kept hearing about in circles, and there was a small little comic book shop right outside of the gate of the Air Force Base that my parents were stationed at. Now, my middle school was right outside that gate, and right across the street was the comic book store. So after baseball practice, I would just walk over there, check out what comic books are, go in the gate, catch the bus to my house, because they always had these shuttle buses that ran inside the base. So I went there, and I remember the guy talking about him getting this shipment of this brand new book, this Batman book, and that Batman merchandise has like been flying, and like he can't even keep it in the store. And he asked me if I wanted, but like at the time it was like I want to say the book itself was around $12.95, $13.95, something like that. And I was like, yeah, if I bought a comic book for like more than $10, my parents are going to kill me. So I basically put it off. How would I have known that was the first run of The Killing Joke? Which would have been worth a small little fortune now, because apparently those are very hard to find. Yeah. So he was talking to this other guy that was in the store, and he was saying, yeah, ever since the movie came out, like you can't keep stuff on the shelves, like anything Batman related.
Of course.
So the comic books are flying off. He had like some older comics, True Detectives, that were selling. I never bothered because that incarnation of Batman never really interested me. But then he started talking about this book, and I flipped through a couple pages of it, and I was like, it's $13.
Which
really wanna...
these days, that's like a good price for a graphic novel, because it was a graphic novel, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah, it was.
Which is a great price, sadly.
Yeah, so I'm like, well, you know what? It's $13. I know I'll catch heck if I bought a comic book for like $13, because you just didn't do that back then. You didn't pay $13 for a comic book. You paid 75 cents, $1. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, nah, that's okay. I'll skip. And he goes, are you sure? He goes, I only have like maybe, a few copies of these. I'm like, maybe another time I'll come back. So how would I have ever known that was like the first run of The Killing Joke?
Right.
Which would be like worth a small fortune now.
Oh, of course. Of course.
Yeah. Yeah, that book would be worth a small fortune right now. No, I wouldn't be able to retire from it, but it'd be worth a small fortune.
Would it? I don't even know how much. I mean, I'm sure it would be worth a lot considering how dark it was.
Yeah, I mean, at the time, you just didn't see stuff like that. I mean, you saw some stuff like I said, in The Dark Knight.
Right.
Which probably would have been, like, by today's standards, probably a little bit better.
Yeah, but still, it would still been dark. The funny thing is it doesn't matter what day and age, dark is still dark. I mean, it's still inappropriate. It's just, how many people are crazy enough to have their kids go see Deadpool? I mean, I'm sorry. It's still too... And it's not that bad, but it's just bad enough. It's just like, no. Below a certain age, they can wait. They don't need to see it that badly. It's just a movie, for God's sake.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, and then, of course, the Schumacher films came out, and we got even further and further away from The Dark Knight and Tim Burton's, like... the dark, brooding Batman, and it became more comical, more mainstream, as after that book came out, The Killing Joke, like, you really didn't hear much about it. Like, you heard about it, it won a couple prizes, it ended up on the New York Times bestseller list for a while, and then it kind of faded away because all these crappy Schumacher versions of Batman came out.
Right, and kind of ruined
it. Those movies made a lot of money, but...
Well, they were the only thing superhero, even remotely superhero related, we even had, right? I mean, there really wasn't anything superhero-y going on.
Yeah, and the thing is that with each one of those movies came out, like, the previews made it look so good.
Oh, yeah.
The trailers, they did a number on me. Like, I just remember being excited about Batman and Robin, and what a failure that one was.
Oh, God.
And then the last of the Schumacher ones... Excuse me.
I did like the Riddler, though. I liked Jim Carrey as Riddler. That was the best part of that whole movie. It was just him being the Riddler. I was like, yeah, that's the Riddler. The rest of it was crap, but him as the Riddler was cool.
Yeah, because you had, you had Two-Face, which was, up until that point, a minor character.
Yeah.
But the thing was that if you were a fan of Batman the Animated Series, which was going on at the exact same time as these movies, the animated series was actually better than the movies.
Oh, yeah. But that was the original, the classic, the weird, very chiseled look, very angular animation style stuff that I absolutely loved that series.
Yes. I mean, by far, I'm glad they stopped when they did. It didn't jump the shark.
Right.
It was kind of like, you know what? We've taken this as far as we could. We're moving on to other things. And those guys moved on to, like, other things, and boy, did they ever. But if you were to ever, like, see them at, like, a con or anything else, like, one of the things they always mention with, like, pure reverence is that animated series. And and that series, to me, defined Batman, what we're seeing now.
Oh, yeah. And again, Batman's supposed to be dark and supposed to deal with psychological issues. But it's like we were talking about today, me and the girl were talking today about if you do something long enough, eventually you're going to have to go back and rehash stories. And when do you lose your audience? How many new stories can you come up with? And you gotta kind of go with the angle on that is there a new idea under the sun? And no, to a certain extent there's not. But if there's a story that's just so good, it bears repeating, if you will, which I think is what The Killing Joke is. It's the classic struggle of Batman versus the Joker, the ultimate, if you will, arch nemesis, and it's always a Joker doing elaborate schemes. If you go back to the Harley Quinn, Mad Love, or any of them, where he's trying desperately to kill Batman in a special way. And if Harley
Right,
comes
it's
in or
not-
anyone comes in and tries to do this, he's like, no, I have to do it my way. Your way does not count.
Right. I mean, he could have just. That's the thing. Like with the Joker, he's the complete opposite of Batman. Joker is pure chaos.
Mm-hmm.
So for him, it's the whole idea of, yeah, I could just easily like bust into his bat lair, which he's done 1,000 times. Wait for him and just put a bullet in his head.
Sure.
But what's the fun in that? I want there to be chaos. I want it to be so oh my gosh, I can't believe this is happening. And then like he ends up killing Batman. That's his ultimate like goal. Is the spectacle, to be known throughout the ages. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So when this Killing Joke book came back around again, and like I kept hearing about it in the winds, like they're thinking about bringing Batman back, and like the Killing Joke is probably going to make an appearance. I'm like, ooh. And then the Christopher Nolan Batman came out, and I'm like, okay, this is a little bit more Dark Knight.
Mm-hmm. It was good. The
Pretty
series
cool.
was good. Yeah, the series was good.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Heath Ledger Joker.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
That
pretty
was
cool.
awesome. That gave the original Joker a run for its money. That gave the original Joker. See, and the thing is with the original Joker versus the Heath Ledger Joker, if the original Joker if they had stayed away from some of the stupid ideas they had for his grand scheme, like the whole makeup crap, that Joker would have been awesome. But just some of the things were just like so cornball. But the character, the way Jack played him, was fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
But just the story was so stupid. That was like, really? Come on, guys. You can do better than this.
I mean...
that's what ruined it for me. And again, the character was great. Jack Nicholson was great. Heath Ledger, also great. And I even liked the extended version of V versus S. And I think I mentioned that, but I want to make sure to reiterate that here, is that was actually much better with the extra hour put back in. I liked it much better than the original version. And it is, kind of, if you look at it, as you said once, it's like a Batman movie. And I think it's the perfect time now for the Killing Joke to come back. Because we're back, as you said, to kind of a Dark Knight variant.
Yeah, it's that whole, like, you know what, this is what the character of Batman was for me, anyways, watching the animated series, reading The Dark Knight, you know, those type of things. You know, the man with no fear, in essence.
Yeah.
So I just, when I heard about the Killing Joke, and then I heard it's going to be animated, that's kind of like I kind of lost interest a little bit. But then I was like, but Warner Brothers does it well.
They
for
do.
whatever reason it may be. They do okay on the movies,
right?
Except with the exception of the Nolan trilogy,
Mm-hmm.
because there they were kind of like, all right, we're stepping aside and we're gonna let this kid Nolan take over.
Yeah, and that was good.
And that was very good.
Yeah.
And then it kind of paved the way to these darker ones. So now you had like the Man of Steel come out after that, which is a little bit more along the same lines of a gritty, like, it wasn't like the original Superman movies where Superman makes an appearance and everyone loves him. It was kind of like Superman makes an appearance and they're like, who is this guy? Should we trust him?
Right.
I don't like him,
Yeah.
that type of thing.
I did like the kind of the God versus man overarching theme, the gods among us, because that, again, darkest hope, if you will, is that, this is an Injustice start, which would be freaking fantastic.
God. Oh, my God. If it is...
that'd be drool.
I will refer to the meme that was sent to my Facebook page the other day, where it was Fry from Futurama, basically, holding a fistful of money, saying, "Shut up and take my money."
Yes.
Shut up and take my money.
It would be
If
fantastic.
they do Injustice, all they had to say was, "Hey, look, you know what? Zack Snyder, he could have solved all this by saying, look, we're releasing Batman versus Superman. It's called Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, and this is going to be about the Injustice storyline." Nobody would have had the backlash.
Yeah,
that's
a good point. Hell, you could have called it Batman versus Superman: Injustice. Period.
Yeah.
Leave it alone.
Or the Dawn of Injustice, or whatever. I would have been like,
now it makes sense. Now it makes sense. Yeah.
But no, it's all about the whole secrecy, and I'm making this movie to make another movie so that way I can get your money twice or three times or whatever it is.
Which, again, we'll give you our money, but be a little more forthcoming with us. Tell us what you're thinking here. Tell us your little, don't give away everything, but you got to give us something. I mean, hell, Marvel's keeping lots of secrets, but you know what story they're doing. They may be changing some things, but you know what they're doing. You know what they're building towards, and you get excited because you're like, oh my God, they're going to do this. And they're like, and here we're going to build it, and here's how we're building it. You're going to come because you want to see the secrets and little pieces to that bigger story that you love, that you want to see.
Yeah, we're going to make you sit through 110 minutes to watch 18 seconds in the credits that's going to tell you about the Infinity Gauntlet.
I'm okay with that.
See?
As you said, take my money, damn it. Just take my money.
Just shut up and take my money.
I think that's a good place, Danny. Shut up and take our money, as always, for anything nerd-related. Please hit us up on all the local stuff, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Again, we are big. We are going to go doing some live stuff on Twitter here in the future, and we're going to try and do some live. I don't know if we're going to do Facebook, YouTube, or how we're going to do it for the Killing Joke. When we go to the theater, we're going to do a little preview, what our opinions or thoughts are before going in, and then how our reactions were after it. Again, we talked about it a little bit here. We're going to definitely talk about it more there on the day of. So, look forward to that. Looking forward to seeing a bunch of you out there at local theaters. Love to see your reactions as well. I know there's going to be a ton of stuff. We have a lot of other things to talk about. We're going to talk about that in the next one. Big thing for me is Rogue One. And we're going to definitely talk about that. Not today, but we are going to talk about that. The new trailer just released last night. Oh, my God. But, again.
Yes, and I watched the 8 o'clock special last night on ABC.
It's the celebration thing, right?
Oh, last night it was Force Awakens behind-the-scenes footage with the additional behind-the-scenes of Rogue One trailer last night.
Yes. Okay.
And it aired on ABC, and it was amazing. It brought a lot of emotions back.
Did you see the scene with the flash of the different aliens, just the faces?
Yes.
Oh, my God, right?
Yes. Simply amazing.
All right, we'll talk more about that.
Shut
up and take my money. We'll talk about that more on the next one. And we will and we need to focus on this next week, Mr. Ernie. We need to get another walk and talk out there, or two. We need to get some more on that. So, all right, guys. And Ernie, if you'll do us the honors, as always.
As always, peace out.